Welcome to the Dork Forest. Jackie and her pals will never bore us. Shameless confessions
about our obsession
will make us laugh and smile. So let's explore the Dork Forest and dork out for a while.
Hi, this is Jackie Kashian with a special intro because it's November and December. You know the websites, jackiekashian.com, dorkforest.com. Patrick Brady, going to fix this audio. Mike Rickberg just sang those songs, and he's going to sing again at the end, and Vilmos fixes the websites. There is a golden opportunity to buy all kinds of Christmas, solstice, Kwanzaa, atheist gifts for your friends and loved ones at jackiekashian.com on the merch page. Ranger of the Dork Forest t-shirt, the Dork Forest Brett Chambers design t-shirt, and CDs. It is Never Going to Be Bread, my last CD, which was top 10 comedy albums of the year on Amazon. And the one before that, which is Circus People, which has an embedded video in the hard copy of the CD, and you can get those signed. That is the present intro part of it. There's also a donation button. In November and December, I ask that you not donate to the Dork Forest. Instead, you donate to a food bank where you live. Help somebody. What the heck? It's the holidays, right? You love the holidays, but there's been a hurricane, there's all kinds of trouble, and there's plenty of people in the world who need help. So November and December, take the money that you might donate to the Dork Forest and donate it to a local charity of your choice. In January, pony up. Everybody should donate, I don't know, $100 a year. What the heck? And then you can still, of course, buy gifts if you want to buy gifts. Thank you so much for listening to the Dork Forest, and it is about to begin. Hello, Solange. How do you pronounce your last
Jackie.
name? You never use it?
I recently changed my name.
Did you recently? Solange has recently changed. Awesome. Why? How?
I changed it on Facebook, which I assume means it's changed.
Yes, that is...
It's legal now, right?
That's the new... If Mark Zuckerberg thinks it's my name is now Leaf Blower.
I have 900 friends, but actually nobody noticed. No, I just took off my dad's name, Belcher, so it's just Solange Castro.
Castro.
Makes me sound more Latin.
Cuban. It does make you sound more Latin. Because I think it has been established in my mind completely that Solange Castro would enjoy... you love salsa music.
Yeah,
you know, like I could dork out about salsa music, and I was like, what would that be like? Would you dance? Would we auditorially dance? So
I could try.
What? I
could dance for you, and
maybe for Andy afterwards with Tiberius.
I could describe my dance moves.
Exactly. Look at this shoulder. Look at this shoulder roll. Look at that.
Watch this body roll. Did you hear that?
Pop, 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 pop. Do it. Have you always been into dance? Or were you always bendy? Did you?
I was. I always had this, I'm super bendy, but I didn't take dance lessons. My mom didn't think I was graceful. I know she's going to hear this and be like, I did.
I just accidentally said out loud that you weren't hundreds of times. I'm so sorry.
But I grew up in, Mexican bilingual classes at school.
Where?
In Berkeley, California.
Oh, hello, hippie child. Well done.
Yeah, so I was, well, my parents weren't exactly hippies, but my mom is Mexican and she wanted me to grow up learning the language. So in my classes, we did a lot of like Mexican folk dance.
Okay.
And at home, I listened, my mom always played Mexican music and she did play some salsa, but salsa is actually not Mexican. It's, Central American and Caribbean.
Okay. I don't know why I know that. So salsa the dance, not awesome, salsa the food. It's
well, okay, salsa to get dorked out
specific
off the bat. Salsa means mixture. So salsa, the tomato-based thing,
food product
you eat with chips, is a mixture of really anything you want. And then music is actually a mixture of Afro-Cuban beats and anything else, really. It's really a beat, and you can mix it with all kinds of music. I mean, I actually brought a Lenny Kravitz song that is salsified.
Salsa?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will. I'll sample that Maybe I'll sample that. Patrick, should I sample? Is it Patrick Brady? I speak to the ether. We'll figure out how to sample that. And I think we can do like 8 seconds or something for free, where I don't have to find Lenny Kravitz and hand him $1.20 or something.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So, salsa is a mixture because, of course, of colonialism, and the music was born of it.
And I mean, basically slavery. So the base, I mean, from what I've read, and I'm sure like some bigger salsa geeks than me are going to be like, oh, you're so wrong. But basically,
I want those people to be listening, by the way. I totally do.
I do too. That's like my biggest fear is that the bigger salsa geeks are going to be like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed.
You were our representative.
How you represented salsa.
No.
But basically what I took is that, in Africa, okay, this is research off the web too, which is my
grain of salt. That's what you're saying. But go. Let's hear.
So, a lot of African tribes, I think it was Ghana, again, I could be wrong, or Nigerian, used the drums to actually, as part of their religious spiritual practice, to bring in spirits.
Okay.
So they had these drumming practices, and then they were brought in as slaves to the Caribbean,
right.
And they kept their drumming practices, and gradually those got incorporated into the culture and the music. And it's really the beat, and it's called the Clave Beat.
How do you spell clave?
CLAV. And it's just like a wooden peg that you beat against this like circular wooden object.
Like a loggy kind of looking thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Very good. Wow,
All right,
Jackie,
sure.
you know a lot. I'm impressed.
I've been doing the Dork Forest for, 6 years now, I think. I've been.
So you beat this thing, and that's the clave beat, and that's the fundamental beat of salsa. And I think so really salsa was born in the Caribbean, and then all these other instruments, like European instruments like the horn,
right,
and were eventually incorporated in
guitars and whatever.
And now we got like, you have
but that's
big
the
giant
basic
bands.
beat.
Yeah.
That's the basic beat. Is this?
And actually the bass, I think, keeps the salsa beat in a lot of bands.
Okay. Oh, the bass drum or the bass guitar?
Yeah, the bass guitar.
All right. Wow. That's and so you took gymnastics or something when you were a kid, but you never.
No. So I was athletic, but this is what happened. I went to Costa Rica as part of a high school. We went to do this service program where we were actually supposed to hand out toothbrushes and teach kids how to brush their teeth.
I love that about Western society. You know, those people need toothpaste or just a Crest T-shirt.
No, but they did. I mean, a lot of these kids did because their teeth were falling. I mean, trust me, we like went into like the backwoods. But my friends and I, we were 16, and there's no age limit in Costa Rica. We ended up just going out to clubs all the time and dancing. So, and Costa Rica has a lot of there's a lot of like salsa dance has a lot of different elements. Like it incorporates a little bit of tango, a little bit of a dance style called cumbia. Merengue is another. It's considered kind of like the stupid person's dance.
Oh, merengue.
Yeah, because it's so simple. It's just like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1,
Maybe
2.
That's what I could learn because I have the beat.
I feel bad, by the way. If you love merengue, it doesn't mean you're stupid.
Doesn't mean
I do.
There's some people who belittle it. That's all she's saying. And what about mariachi bands? What do you know about?
I'm a super salsa snob too. Actually, just so you know, like among my friends, I am like insanely snobby about salsa. So
that's it, because you love it so. And
yeah.
But there's a very specific thing that you love.
Yes, and there's like a right. I really respect dancing to the music.
Okay.
The thing that drives me crazy is people just kind of moving around and not listening to the music.
Oh, they're not feeling it.
Not feeling.
Ka-chung. Ka-chung. I saw Dirty Dancing. Ka-chung.
I'm totally embarrassed, by the way, admitting all this stuff.
Oh my God, safest space in the world, the Dork Forest. This is it. So when you went to Costa Rica, essentially.
Oh, okay. So I fell in love with dancing.
You got bit by the salsa bug.
And we didn't even really dance salsa, but I just love the fact that everybody danced, and like wherever we went, they had dances, and and it's not considered necessarily this romantic gesture. It's just, you're just having fun. It's just
everybody, and everybody does it of all ages.
Everybody. Okay. Exactly. And I just love that. And so for years I was like, I'm going to learn to dance salsa. And it just didn't happen. And finally one day I went to the club and I'm like, I'm going to learn. And from that day on, I was like 5 days a week
5 days a week,
Yeah,
just
nights, actually, 5 nights a week.
And when did you start dancing? Like 10 years ago, or?
Well, actually, I did start like 10 years ago, but I didn't have that epiphany till like, it was about 6.5 years ago.
Okay. So, all right. So, like 2005.
Yes.
You started, you were like, I'm going to take a class. Did you take a class?
Yes.
Or did you just go to a club?
So I recommend everybody take classes because
Okay.
it's not that hard to learn enough to have fun, but you do have to learn something. Especially for the guys, it's a lot harder.
Oh, is it?
And yes, the guys lead, and so they have to know some choreography.
Okay.
And it's interestingly, salsa's mostly Latino and very Asian.
Oh, really?
And black. Not a lot of white guys dance salsa
Okay.
in LA. That's if you're a white guy who dances salsa, you're
Andy
like,
Ashcraft wants in, by the way. I told him you were coming over. He was like, well, why don't we take salsa classes? And because he wants to do ballroom dance. And I'm just like, yes, I too.
Ballroom helps probably a lot more white people in ballroom.
Yeah.
But the thing
and the elderly, which I was born elderly.
I don't know necessarily, but maybe. I haven't gotten into the ballroom scene, but I can just tell you salsa's pretty young. It's pretty high energy, and Asian people dance it because in Asian cultures people dance too. It's very accepted and encouraged that everybody dances.
Okay.
Partner dance, I should say.
Right. It's
Americans are more like into the hippie.
Right. We're just all just doing our own thing on the unless you're grinding against somebody in a charming manner at some bar called the Church Key. And so you took some classes and then all of a sudden
A lot of classes.
you took oh really?
Yeah, I actually joined dance teams. I don't know why they're called teams because it's not. We didn't have like competitions, but
or
we just performed. But I just joined just to get better. And the more I improved, the more I loved it.
right.
And the more into the scene I became.
Right.
And
So 5 nights a week, you would get dressed up. You would get dressed because that's the other thing too, is everybody is pretty well dressed in this event.
So this is what happens. In the beginning, you get kind of like bitten by the salsa bug.
Yes.
And you go shopping, you start buying like trashy,
Like skirts and
Forever
peasant
21
blouses and
yeah, just the trashiest clothes. And they actually make clothes for dancing that are breathable.
Okay.
And then you buy the shoes because there are specific salsa shoes that
you have to wear a heel.
Yes. You don't have to do anything, but
Right.
this is just part of the culture.
Right.
So of course, when you get bitten, you want to like live up to the salsa image. And then, and this is pretty much uniform. You go out during the week, you stay out till 2,
What time do you get there?
Oh, it doesn't start till 10. You can't really start dancing
Okay.
anywhere till 10 o'clock. And and salsa dancers go out on weekdays, not on the weekend. That's like when civilians.
Amateurs, man. That's it. Do it.
So salsa dancers, you're there at 10 o'clock. You can't leave because you're
Live
addicted.
band or spinning?
Both.
Okay.
And it's just, in the beginning, it is just so fun. You can't imagine anything else in life
And you
would
go
rather
with
do.
the people from your class. You're like people you've met at class.
The thing is I went to places I ended up seeing the same people everywhere I went. So I
Right.
eventually became friends with them.
Okay.
And then you're exhausted all the time.
Right, because you're up, because you're working out for 4 hours a night,
Yeah,
from 10 to 2 in the morning.
And you start having like awesome legs without thinking about it. You're
Right.
not even trying to work out. You're just having the time of your life. And also in the beginning, you think everybody's a fantastic dancer. So
Everyone's amazing. Look how good that guy is. Look how
especially
amazing
if
she
he's
is.
like, he's like flipping women or, and there's dancers who inevitably, like, everyone stands around and watches them. And
Oh, like Saturday Night Live.
it's a lot like
like a
Saturday Night
movie.
Fever.
Saturday Night Live. See, I'm very, very hip. I know a lot about dance. Saturday Night Fever. Was there a gang rape scene? No, I just kid. Anyway, so I don't know.
There's a lot of dark stuff too.
Right,
There's
we're
a lot
going to
of-
get to that.
Okay,
Yeah. Because the joy is really what you want. That's what you want to. That's why you get into it, right? And that always remains. But you have to live a little defensively when you go into such a situation.
So what happens, I think, and I've seen this happen, and I write about it in my book. And it's basically...
That's right. You have a blog and a book. Talk about the blog URL.
Okay, I have a blog, searchforsanity.com, which is the title. It comes from a short film I made that Maria Bamford is in 10 years ago.
One of our mutual friends.
Called Stella's Search for Sanity. Anyway, so I started a blog and I still have it. And I actually wrote a lot about salsa in my blog before I morphed into a book. So that's my plug for my website.
Right. And then you're on Facebook and Twitter?
And then I'm on Twitter. Yeah.
What's your
Solange CB? Really exciting
I'll
handle.
Like CB, like a CB radio?
Well, it's just Castro Belcher.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
There, nice.
I have to
Solange,
change it.
Solange.
Yes. Thank you.
Sure.
And I'm on Facebook, which I'm now Solange Castro. So what happens to women in salsa is they get mesmerized, especially by the like hot Latin dance teacher,
right?
Who has just, you know, they have like superpowers over women because they can dance. And it's true what they say, women do go crazy over guys who can dance. It's
incredibly attractive. I'm not going to lie to you. It's incredibly hot.
It becomes less attractive once you know more guys who can dance.
Right, because then they open up their pie hole and say horrifying things. But when you first see them...
Yes. Yeah, it's really interesting. So they become mesmerized. They go out and start dressing very provocatively, dancing all the time. And it's really what I call it is sort of like the Latino man's like vengeance on the white man. Because in LA is not a place... for Latino men have a hard time here, I think, especially if they come from, Latin America and they come here to work. But there's a lot of people who dance also who probably work in the service industry.
But they get dressed up at 10 o'clock at night and they have a whole other life where they don't have to be, yes, I'll park your car.
Right.
They're in charge at that point.
They are. What's the character? John Travolta's character in Saturday Night Fever?
I can't remember the name of the movie.
But sadly. He worked at a hardware store.
Right.
And he went to the club and he was king.
Right.
And
it was like the Flamingo Kid, man. Or even Dirty Dancing, you know?
Exactly.
Like Patrick Swayze is a dirtbag, but then once in the summer, women are slipping him 20s and whatever.
Right. And it's kind of the same theme in every dance movie. Because I actually went and started watching dance movies with this in mind. And I realized it's always the same theme. It's always somebody who's from the wrong side of the tracks, ethnic.
Mostly men or women or both?
Usually the guy is. And then it's somehow like he's able to cross to another social echelon.
And he meets like some sort of fancy Jewish girl who's supposed to become a lawyer.
Right.
Or some fancy waspy girl who's supposed to become...
happens in real life.
Oh,
in salsa all the time. And that's what fascinates me about it is that it's a real thing because it's so powerful. And a guy knowing how to dance is considered it's considered social capital. He may not have a nice car. He might live with all his relatives
and whatever. Yeah.
But he can dance, and
that is social. Maybe something I like social capital.
Biological about that.
Oh, there's definitely something biological about it because it's super hot. It is. So did you get? I mean, what happened? I mean, did you end up meeting a bunch of fellas that you were like?
Yeah. So I did meet guys that I wouldn't really consider appropriate dating options.
Right.
Outside of salsa. And I talked about this with my friends all the time.
And you speak Spanish.
I do speak Spanish.
And you're actually Mexican.
I grew up with Mexicans, and so I actually feel simpatico, and I also felt like salsa was sort of coming back to my culture. Just a way to connect with the Latin side of
the
me.
Latin side of yourself. Yeah.
But I have a lot of friends, and this one friend of mine, I write about her in my book. She was constantly, and she's hilarious, and she's kind of like, everybody here is so beneath me. She's always saying things like that.
Well,
but she loves them.
Right.
And she loves them.
And she's a jackass, but a hilarious jackass.
But
because that's the level, right? I mean, we hang out, we do stand up, right? So we hang out with these people that are so funny, but you're like, you are actually a little mean, but you're funny enough that I love you. My friend Jillian Jacobs, one of the meanest people I've ever met in my life, consistently cracks me up. And I'm like, I don't, when I'm not with you, I kind of don't like you. But when I'm with you, you're so fucking funny.
Well, she's just speaking her truth, and she has an idea.
It is her truth. It turns out
supposed to be with. Right. But there is kind of also like jungle fever aspect to it of like, ooh, they're so
Spike Lee movie?
hot. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Just because there's
so much physical contact.
Yes. And it's a physical, I mean, this is the thing. If I went into a bar and a guy put his hands on my waist, I would punch him in the face.
Right.
But in salsa, a guy does that and it's like, oh, we're going to dance. And it's considered appropriate.
Right.
But I definitely, I got really, burnt out of that part of it. And I started I kind of reached a point, especially once I had established dance partners, which I still have, and they're really friends and they're people I trust, where I realized how many sleazy guys were just using salsa to
cop a feel, essentially, and
yeah,
just get foul.
And it's basically if you're starting to dance, you have no idea. You're just like, I want to dance. And, oh, this guy who can dance is dancing with me. And,
yeah.
okay, so maybe that felt a little weird, but that's salsa, you know?
Maybe, right, so parenthetically, or quotes, air quotes. Yeah, that's what salsa is. Really, it's just inappropriate.
It's just inappropriate touching, maybe
Grab
a
ass?
grind.
That actually isn't, is that not salsa? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, basically, there is such a thing as salsa, and but there are moves that like guys would never try on me now, but they would try it on a beginner girl that are like, you know, the equivalent of like, what was that hip hop move that everybody talked about? The like doggy style.
Oh, okay.
Basically where the guy would like turn
You're no
you
longer
around.
face-ing them. Yes.
And then like put his hand on your back and push you down, like
Bend you over.
Sure. That was a move that was happening all over the clubs. And it took me a while to realize, wait, that's not salsa. That's like some guy who was just like, this'll be fun. And if I do it to the music, nobody will really know that I'm actually like, you know,
right,
putting this woman in a demeaning position,
right? Actually, vaguely sexually assaulting her to a hell of a beat
in a public setting with people watching.
Right. Where later she has to talk to that guy and order a Diet Coke, and she's like, "Can I have a Diet Coke?" And he's like, "Yeah, so out there." Is there some of that too, where the bartenders and the wait staff are just like, "Hey, are you being taken for a buggy ride?" Is there any of that sort of warning kind of stuff?
Well, so I got into it because I have the joy and my culture. And then I saw this and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, Latin America, not the best place for women, you know, not big on women's rights. And that is part of it as well. And it's also
my favorite line from Latin guys is, you know, women are the most powerful thing. They're the most powerful member of our society. And I was like, really? To my knowledge, they can't own land. Or they can, but I mean, it's like, it's not, men who say women don't understand their power, and I was like, yeah, but that's not actually the power I want to work. I don't want to make you lick my butt, or whatever. I mean,
manipulate you.
It's always some sort of weird sexual manipulation that they want that they're talking about,
right?
And they're also those are the guys that are trying to manipulate you sexually and boss you around sexually. That I also don't want to date either. So I mean. They want to be bossed. They're like, women don't get that they could be the most powerful things in the world. And then they're like, and because they don't understand that, I'm going to bend her over this copy fax machine and have my way with her. Just pretend. So, I mean, it's weird, right?
Yes, it's very weird. And it's weird because a lot of, like I said, a lot of Latino men, I mean, this isn't their culture. They don't speak this isn't their first language.
Right. They've been here 5-10 years, maybe, right?
Yeah, and so they're kind of bringing their culture into this little petri dish of this community of salsa. And it's not just Latin. It's like I said, there's a lot of other cultures too. There's actually a lot of
the Armenians are so liberal. I don't know if you know about my people. There's a lot of, I'm sorry, step and fetch it. Hey, could you get me a cup of coffee and some baklava? Yes, I can, it turns out.
With women?
With women, yeah. That's, I mean, the whole church thing, it's just, you're constantly just rolling.
I think that's how most of the world is what I realized.
Yes. Right. It isn't just Latin guys. It's sadly, it's every culture and if you want to be a woman who works or does your own thing, you have to sort of fight your way through it.
I think Denmark or maybe it's Sweden. There's one of these countries like the best place to be a woman, but basically everywhere else is
But then you read the Dragon Tattoo and you're like, the foster care program seems to be slightly broken. So
I know. And I think, as much as we are struggling with those issues here, it's like we do have it so much better than
things are working out in the United States in many ways.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is every generation you're like, this is it. World is ending. We're done. And then you're like, it's eroding. There's some trouble. I'm pouring some more coffee. And that's what people can hear probably in the background. Clank, clank.
So I feel like I've gotten I've gotten all into women's rights.
Right. Right. But salsa, I mean, so the thing is what
salsa to women's rights.
Right. Exactly. What is that?
Okay. So this is, I don't
who's
know,
singing?
There's different, I just like have a mixture. This is just
but it
really
was famous,
fun
right?
music. I mean, this is really fun. Like just
not specifically salsa though. Like it was, who did you say was the,
so I have one Lenny Kravitz.
Lenny Kravitz does not scream salsa to me.
No,
right?
It's a salsa beat.
Okay. It's just got the salsa beat and it can be anything.
Yeah. Exactly. And then I have Eddie Palmieri, who's really famous.
How do you spell is it Palmieri?
Gombo.
With a B?
Palmieri is Palmieri.
Okay.
It's probably wrong, actually.
Okay. But Eddie Palmieri?
Yeah. And
in American, I'd say Eddie Palmieri. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
And there's so many other great
and who was the one
musicians.
After? Yeah, like what are your favorite ones and what makes them
so what happened to me is I kind of got I heard so much commercial salsa that I got like burned out of it, and I started dancing.
Hacky commercial salsa?
Yeah.
What's that? What's some of
That's
that?
like
or
Mark
just
Anthony.
Mark. Oh, really?
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, it's not. It's called
not bad.
salsa romantica.
Okay, it's got its own genre.
It's very romantic. and there's actually a song like that on here at the end, and it actually does make you feel like, oh, men are so romantic, and but it's considered very hacky among salsa snobs like me. Okay. But I actually secretly like it.
Yeah. Right, because
it's very.
Sometimes you like it. Right?
Yeah, exactly. But I started getting into mambo because I started dancing on this different beat, which they call it dancing on two. But it's weird. You break on a different beat, and yet it's a whole subset of the salsa scene. And it's kind of like where the real snobby people hang out. Okay. And it's a different way of dancing, and it's less flashy. It's less about looking.
Is it footwork? Is salsa mostly footwork, or is it mostly body work?
It's both. I mean, it's a lot. It's whatever you have to bring.
Okay, well, fair enough. Try to explain it. Like, how do you? Is it a 4/4 beat or?
I have to do some dancing for you.
Well, one moment, please.
We're gonna translate it.
I'm gonna do a smash cut in the audio.
Can you play some music?
Can we play some music? I'd say we can do it after.
Oh, okay.
But I say after the show.
So I'll just so you know, the basic salsa is just like this is just the salsa footwork. It's just this 1, 2, 3,
1,
5,
2, 3,
6, 7. It's
5,
an
6,
8 count.
7. It's an 8 count.
Yeah. So the 8 is silent. So that's basic. That's all you got to do. If you want to dance salsa and you got a partner, you can just do this. You know, it's just like kind of ballroomish. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I just did some dancing.
Okay. You just talked. Hang on a second. Okay.
Sorry.
You just did some dancing.
Yeah.
I just lost my hearing, as did Patrick Brady. But what I have here is I have a camera that maybe afterwards we can do like a 2-minute video or something of you showing Andy Ashcraft how to do it, and then Andy Ashcraft can show me how to do it, and that'll be fun. So it's an 8 count,
right?
And it's just back and forth. Sort of. It looks like sort of a more hip wiggling waltz.
Basically, yeah. And that's salsa. And you can do all these fancy spins, and you can do whatever. I've seen women do the splits, but I mean, it's
and the guys
really
toss them around a little bit.
And they get tossed around sometimes, but it's really just however you want to interpret the music with your body. Like that's the thing. And it also is evolving. It's not a very rigid,
it's not strictly ballroom
discipline. I mean, it is strictly ballroom in the sense that people incorporate new stuff, and it's well, that's not salsa,
right. So if it's anything you want it to be, then how can there be bossy Magoos going, hey, you're not doing it right?
Well, I think it's more about staying on the beat. So you can do a lot of things as long as you can actually hear the beat and stay on it.
And when people are watching you perform or dance, they're like, oh, that person actually hears where the beat is.
Or if I'm dancing with someone and he's not, I can feel it. If he's leading me and he's not on the music, and I am, then, or you're interpreting it differently, then it just doesn't work.
Right. It's bad timing.
Yeah.
It doesn't jive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like gears that don't match up.
Exactly.
Of thing. That must be kind of painful.
Yeah.
To
it's
try
terrible.
to dance. Yeah. Where you're like, stop and start kind of thing where you're like, how can I either force him to do it? Can you somehow? You
can try, but it's the most, and it's really hard to lead. So I feel bad, cause I've tried learning how to lead, and it's challenging for guys. So, anyway, some people are just are more musical than others, I think.
Oh, just they feel the beat.
Yeah.
Better. And so now, how many partners do you have?
Oh, I don't know. I have
standard, like two or three guys that you dance with a lot?
Yeah, like anywhere I go, I'll maybe have like 2 or 3 guys that I dance with a lot.
And do you still go out at like 10 o'clock at night?
Only occasionally. I mean, if I have to work the next day, I don't have the motivation to do that anymore.
Right. So you might go once a week or twice a week?
Yeah, I go like once or twice a week.
That's still a lot. It's
I know.
Pretty awesome.
That's much more than most people do. And that's considered not, when I go out, people are like, where have you been? I haven't seen you.
I haven't seen you for days. It's been days and days. And I'm like, it's been 2 days.
Once in a while, I'll go out and like order a drink and I'll like dance all night and have this amazing time. And I'll be like, oh, that's how it used to be. It used to feel like that for me every single night.
Yeah.
But basically what I thought like my journey would be, like I would dance salsa and then eventually it was going to be kind of like eat, pray, love, and then find the man of my dreams and get married. Right. And that would be the end of the story. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to find him in salsa.
You aren't?
Well, I just decided I probably wouldn't.
Well, because I mean, the thing is even if those guys just have regular jobs, right? I mean, they have jobs.
Yeah. And there's a lot of couples. Guys. There's a lot of people I know who've met in salsa and gotten married. So
okay. Yeah,
it happens. It just didn't happen for me. But
just hasn't happened for you yet. And, it could happen.
It also like dancing is weird because it's so expressive, but it's also not intellectual at all, which is both what makes it awesome. But then there's a part of me that's like, oh, I have this brain I'd like to use too. So
right. So you dance for 4 hours and then you're like, could we also discuss Melville?
Yeah. And basically my ideal date would be like dancing salsa.
Right.
And then having book group.
Right. Right. Is there a book club that you enjoy? What do you like to read?
I have too many requirements. There's a reason why I'm single. I think I have too many.
Well, I don't know. So
must be so many things.
Is there a best physical requirement? You're very tiny. You're little. So it must be nice for guys to want to dance with you because they can toss you around a little bit. Right. So I don't
really like being tossed around, but
no. What is your favorite?
I like dancing on too, and I have a lot of favorite dance partners that I've been dancing with for years, and I adore them.
And there's a flourish to it, or is there not? Is there?
Sometimes. I mean, once you know somebody's kind of style really well, you can understand it, so it's really easy to dance with them, and it gets more fun. It's kind of like sex. I mean, it's basically a way of having
you know where their next
I'm not really having sex with all these guys, Mom, but
right exactly.
Some people actually say it is sex. It's a very because it's physically intimate and you're connecting and you're trying to move with somebody. Are your bodies
touching each other for most of it? Chest to chest kind of
There
business?
are parts of it where they are.
Okay.
And there's actually a dance style called Bachata that is really physically intimate. And that's Dominican, and that's actually gotten really popular.
Okay.
And can be really, and actually tango is way more physically intimate.
Oh yeah?
Because tango, you're pressed chest to chest.
Yeah. And you're just all twisty and like a pile of puppies kind of thing.
Yeah. And I haven't gotten into the tango scene. I just didn't
But you did
feel it.
mambo, you said, right?
So mambo is salsa, but I got
It's just a part of salsa.
It's basically like the music is it's just considered mambo. It's salsa dancing too, though. But it's just once I got into the on two scene, that kind of took over, and I just didn't. Suddenly,
That's
like
the
all
term,
the
the
guys,
on two?
yeah, we call it dancing on two.
Is that because of the partners or because of the beat?
Because you break on the second beat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And okay, so
I'm telling you, I told you I'd get nerdy.
No,
about
that's
this.
perfect. It's because nobody knows. I mean, everyone listening out there is probably much like myself, where we're like, "What is happening?" And 10:00, I'm going to watch possibly an episode of Primeval and call it a day.
And that's why I wanted to write a book about it, because it's such a subculture that no one knows this whole world is going on every night of the week. And I'd like to plug the places I go to on the West Side, because
Is it the West Side of LA? Is that where?
Because I live on the West Side. I mean, there's places all over LA.
I'm
but-
sure there's plenty going on here in the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But LA is a great place to dance also, because you can go out 7 nights a week and find places to dance.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
Where
And people do that.
Where do you usually go?
Oh, okay. So, on the West Side, I go to Wolcano in Santa Monica, has salsa on Tuesday nights.
On Tuesday, and what's that scene? What's that bar like? It's called. Is it
Volcano?
How do you
Volcano
spell
is
Volcano.
Oh, it's a Asian fusion restaurant.
It's an Asian fusion restaurant that has salsa on Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
How's
they
the
have
food?
the food's awesome.
Allow me to digress briefly into my own dorkdom.
They have a space in the back where they have a dance floor, and you actually can dance outside.
Oh wow!
And then there's
And do they have a band? Or
they
is
don't
it-
have bands. It's a DJ.
Okay, it's a DJ, and that starts at 10:00 in Santa
The
Monica.
lesson's at 8:00.
Okay. Oh, sort of like line dancing.
Yes,
Where you can go
it's
for,
just like line dancing. Yeah.
where you go 2 hours.
Yeah.
The first 2 hours is you can learn some steps and stuff. And does it cost to go get?
It's like usually $10, and that
person?
includes the lesson.
Okay.
Yeah.
$10 to get in, and that includes the lesson, and there's usually a dude.
It's funny because I went line dancing once,
Yeah?
and it was so funny. I was like, this is a whole other scene.
That's
And they
almost-
have their own outfit, like
Yep.
the cowboy hat and
Or the boots and the...
I'm telling you, the line dancing seemed way harder than salsa to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you have to learn all that footwork.
Oh, is there fancy footwork with line
There's
dancing?
tons of fans. I mean, you can just do the 2-step. But
Right.
But people, if you really want to get into it, that
Yeah.
footwork, really hard, I thought.
So there's not a fancy footwork. I mean, the thing is
There is in salsa.
right. So, but you could do the 8-step that you were just showing.
Yeah,
me.
you can do the basic. It's called the basic.
Okay, you can do the basic, much like in line dancing. But that's an entirely wow. It's so interesting. The subculture of salsa and line dancing, they are kind of exactly the same, living parallel lives.
Exactly, but
Right.
but line dancing was really white. I think.
Super white, I bet.
Yeah.
Super. Not a lot of Mexicans.
Yes,
Not a lot
it
of
was
Central
like,
Americans.
It was like a country western kind of aesthetic.
Yeah. Very much an urban cowboy kind of.
Yes, very much.
All right.
Which I thought was so awesome.
That
That
John
there's, like-
Travolta's willing to just do anything, it turns out. Okay, so where's another one?
Oh, okay. And then there's Zanzibar,
Which is
which
what?
is in Santa Monica.
Another
And that's an actual club with a big dance floor and a stage, and they have bands on
they
Monday
have
night.
bands that on Monday night that play salsa.
Yes.
How many people are in this band?
Oh, they have a different band. I mean, they don't
they
always have
5-piece?
bands. Some of the bands, I would say, I've seen bands that are like 8, 9 pieces.
Right, but they can be like 3 guys too, or 3 people.
Yeah.
Okay.
They can be like maybe 4 or 5.
Okay, because there's a lot of instruments that happen.
Yeah. I know. And there's some bands that don't have a brass section really.
Okay.
And it just gives it a real, and a lot of these guys in the salsa bands, they don't make any money. I mean, they make like $50 a gig.
Right. I mean, you have to love it.
Yeah, and they
like
love it.
stand-up.
And they just they'll show up on different bands. So
Okay.
but there's this one guy, Johnny Polanco, and he played at El Floridita, which is in Hollywood on Vine Street.
On Vine and what? What's a cross street? What's a big cross street?
It's
El
near
Floridita.
Hollywood Boulevard. I don't
Okay.
but
And El Floridito, is that just a club?
it's a tiny salsa club restaurant. It's a restaurant
as
too.
well? Okay. Is it Mexican or Spanish?
It's I don't know what the food is. I want to say it's Cuban, but I don't know.
Okay.
But he played there every Monday night for years. I don't know if he still plays there, but he has a big, he had like a big band of brass and just a really cool
Yeah, like
sound.
like Ricky Ricardo and Babalu and his band. You ever watch the old I Love Lucy's, right?
Right.
And you'd go and you'd see his band, and you're like, I want to live that life.
Right.
The mystery, the fact that life doesn't exist, right? Where everyone's wearing sequined gowns and dancing, but there's a 22-piece band with a horn section and a percussion section and possibly some strings. Yeah,
and honestly, I prefer dancing to DJ, but
do you?
Yeah, but I
Why
love
is that?
listening to a band. I don't know. It's a lot of the band songs go on for like 15 minutes.
Okay.
And it gets a little repetitive. Sometimes they aren't really so much for dancing as for listening.
Okay. Yeah, you're supposed to go and see the band and listen to it.
Yeah.
And what's an average dance of a salsa tune?
4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, because a 4 or 5 minute dance where you are like physically really moving.
Oh yeah, it's a work. I mean,
You're going to want to sit down. Do you sit down some of the dances, or do you end up dancing all night? Depends.
when I first started, I would get there at 10 and like not stop till 1.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
I couldn't, and it was awesome because I wasn't thinking, oh, am I getting in shape? Am I working out? I wasn't thinking about that at all.
No, you're just like, oh my gosh, this song. And did you recognize the songs, like the basic songs that were...
I didn't then, but I gradually started to hear them all over and over again to the
Right.
point where it became like I heard them a million times. Yeah.
Stop playing this song. Why are we going to listen to this Justin Bieber thing again?
I think the thing about salsa for me and like a lot of women I've met is that it was just so great to have something to do where you don't feel like it kind of liberates you from the feeling of like, oh, I have to be dating or be in a relationship, because you go out and
Right.
you're
doing
you're
something
touching
social.
and you're also touching men, they're touching
Yep.
you, but it's safe, and it's just sort of gave me like a really cool place to go and be single and
That's so neat, because it
avoid my intimacy issues, I guess.
right. You didn't have to have any intimacy issues, so it's nice. But you didn't have to.
But it's not healthy for the long run.
In the long run, but it does. It's sort of like, in some ways, like comedy, where it sort of gives you your life, right? I mean, it becomes your life, and then you're like, oh, I'm actually not living,
Right.
But it gives you self-esteem. It gives you a skill. It gives you some coping mechanisms. I mean, it gives you.
Yeah, and it's
something
interesting is that I feel like something about dancing, and I'm a person who sweats a lot, and salsa is very sweaty. I mean,
Okay.
it's pretty disgusting when you really think
Bikram
about it.
yoga disgusting.
Yeah, but you're like, okay, I'm letting this sweaty person like slime me with his sweat. I mean, it's
Right.
so many things that would not happen in regular life just happen in salsa clubs. This like strange guys like touching me in
Right.
places, putting sweat on me. I mean,
Right.
and it's not someone I don't even know his name. And,
Right, and a lot of laundry. Going
yes,
on.
a
Like,
lot of
you can't
laundry.
wear the same outfit
you
2
don't,
nights.
You don't
without-
buy nice, trashy clothes for salsa. You
Right.
buy like Forever 21 or
Right, you're like, I'm hoping this H&M thing will not fall apart while it's on me.
exactly.
Okay.
But I used to just pour sweat, which feels awesome. I think like that's part of the therapeutic process
Right,
of
right,
it,
'cause
because you
it-
just like pour sweat. You work out really hard
You're
and
detoxing as you speak, essentially.
basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And
What kind of
and then-
shoes?
oh, what?
What kind of shoes?
Oh, well, they're specifically made salsa shoes. They're made for salsa.
What do they look like? Why
Oh,
are they
I should have
specifically
brought-
made?
I should have brought them.
Well, I can look it up, and I can put a link. But
Mine
are they
look terrible right
Are
now.
they chunky heeled?
They're,
or are they stilettos?
They're
is it a
kind of
flat?
stiletto-ish. They have suede. They're made of suede. So they kind of like, they're form-fitting to your foot.
They're suede.
And they're suede on the bottom. But the suede on mine is...
Oh, they don't click?
No. There's no tapping.
There's no tappity tap.
It's not tap dance.
Well, yeah, but I was just thinking, like when Carmen Miranda would dance with the fruit on her head.
I know, that's what people have. Their ideas of salsa are so different. Oh, but what I was going to say is that something about dancing, I really believe, gives people self-esteem, or just being in your body.
Totally.
Doing anything physical. There's something about connecting with your body that I think gave me a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is you can see why, right? Because whatever you do, whether you play basketball really well or I don't know. When I was in junior high, I learned to dribble and spin a basketball on my finger. And
that's awesome.
Well, it was very exciting. For years, I would entertain.
Can you still do that?
I can still do it. Oh yeah, I'm not lying. Feel free to bring a basketball to a live comedy show of Jackie Kashian. Going to be in Reno. Going to be in Seattle. Bring it down, people. Tucson, Phoenix. Those are my comedy dates, by the way. Ooh, look at me plugging in the middle of it all. But if you do bring a basketball, I will spin it. But any sort of physical activity, I think, can give you, because it connects you with your body. I think you're totally right. That's so neat.
Yeah, I know. And I played basketball too, although I wasn't that good. But I kind of felt the same way.
I couldn't shoot to save my life, so I could dribble.
But you could spin it on your finger like a globetrotter.
When I came from basketball camp, I went to basketball camp. I wanted to go to horse camp. Everyone got one camp when we were kids. They're like, you can go to camp once. And we got to do it because my brother paid for his own music camp. And so, and then, so my parents were like, oh, we're supposed to send you people to camp. That's a thing. And so my sister got to go to music camp, and then I didn't want to go to music camp. So I said, I want to go to horse camp. And they were like, horse camp is too expensive. What else you got? And I was like, basketball camp. And so I went to basketball camp, and the note on my basketball camp, report card essentially was, spends too much time learning how to spin the basketball, not enough working on the drills.
You were like, wait, screw the game.
Right. I don't want to play the game.
I figured out what this is about. Yeah.
Exactly. And you should, I was on the basketball team, and we had to run laps, and I would read while I ran laps. I was the most painful child. There was a reason why my parents were like, what is happening? Eddie, she's not doing drugs. There we go. And that was all they had.
Stimulating your brain, probably, which needed to be stimulated.
Right. So so have you ever dated any of these guys? Have you tried?
I did, unfortunately. I guess I'll say unfortunately.
Because it didn't work out specifically,
I just think,
right?
Yeah, because it didn't work out, but it was just, totally inappropriate matches. I mean,
right, because you guys physically matched up.
Yeah, because what happens is you think, oh, I've been dancing with this guy for a year. Right. That means we know each other.
Right.
And you really don't.
Right.
It's the sort of like sleeping with somebody for a year and thinking that you have a relationship.
Right, right. When you've never actually talked about anything but the sex.
Right, right.
Fair enough. So
dancing
all you would
does
talk
not
about is
create a relationship.
Right. So what else would you want to talk to? This is just a weird question. This feels like a very Maria Bamford kind of question. What else would you want to talk about with them? But wouldn't you want to go for coffee and sit around and say, so did you read The Outsiders when you were in junior high? Or,
yeah, and it was weird because then you would, actually one guy that I dated, he was too young for me, but he actually was, kind of gave me the older woman respect because he thought I was smart and he actually liked to read. So I actually did talk to him about books and stuff like that.
And sports or anything. What are your other hobbies? What else do you enjoy in life?
Well, stand-up comedy.
Stand-up comedy.
Reading inspirational self-help.
Oh, you do a lot of that's right. That's why we're, who doesn't, you can heal your body, Louise Hay. And, heal your life. That's the name of it.
Good book.
It's not bad. It's not bad. I enjoy it. But, what's the, I meet people who they get together and I really like Doctor Who. I watch a lot of Breaking Bad. What kind of TV shows would that be? And it's weird about the dating thing because I never dated before Andy Ashcraft.
That you're very fortunate.
I'm very fortunate.
I don't think anyone really knows how to date. Anyone who says they do is
doing it wrong.
It's like saying I'm really good at job interviews. Who wants to be good at job interviews? You just want the job.
Right. It turns out you can't keep a job.
Exactly.
But it does feel like, because I remember doing the online dating thing where you would meet a guy and you'd sit around for 3 hours and you'd talk about music and books
which is totally exhausting.
It's emotionally draining where you just for all parties involved. And you're like, okay, well that was something. I wonder if I want to do that again. And so, and when I started doing it, because for a year and a half, I would online date these guys, and you'd see each other and you'd sit down, and it might be a half an hour until you both agreed that what you saw was nothing like what you thought you were going to see and enjoy. Or you'd sit down for 3 or 4 hours. There was a Latin teacher, this guy, but he lived down in Orange County, and I was interested in talking to him, and I thought he was a really nice guy, but he never called me again. And I was like, well, I mean, I can't figure out why it worked with Andy, you know? Like Maria asks me on a fairly regular basis, did you know immediately? How did you know to keep dating him or whatever? And I was like, well, he was just great, you know? And it wasn't, you know, it wasn't love at first sight, but it was love at, you know, I loved talking to him, you know? And I liked playing games with him, and I wanted to go see a movie with, you know.
Right. And I've heard that from a lot of people about their partners, is that it just kind of feels easy or right, or.
Yeah, it wasn't work.
Right.
It didn't feel like it. It wasn't a chore. So,
right.
And it's comfortable to hang out with him and not say anything to some extent too, which is nice.
Right. It's pretty mysterious, I think.
I think it is.
Yeah. I don't think there's any, I know I'm probably me and maybe Maria, we're like super analytical people and overthink everything. And also, like, I know for me, I want to do it right. And
well, yeah,
there's no such thing.
Right. You can't do it right. And I think you're analytical until you meet, like, I was talking to Dave Anthony, and Dave Anthony, you know Dave Anthony. Dave Anthony, has no filter and he's a walking Asperger syndrome. The dude is out of his mind when he's just button pushing and hilarious but a sweet, sweet man, and got married right around the same time I did. And we were both watching Ginny Garofalo on stage and at UCB. And she was talking about how it very much reminded me of the Bill Maher, Nobody Can Make Me Get Married lecture that was supposed to be comedy that isn't comedy because no one is trying to make you get married. And no one is trying to make Jean Garofalo get married, you know?
Right.
I mean, except for the voices in both of their heads.
Right.
Right? And so, so Jeanine Garofalo is talking about how she doesn't want to get married. This is probably 4 years ago. And she's like, I would never want to get married. I just want to have sex with guys and end it and then just move on and then have sex with a different guy.
Isn't she in a relationship?
She might be now.
Okay.
At the time, I hope not.
Right.
But I turned to Dave Anthony. I don't know why I'm naming names, but everyone.
We'll fix it in post.
Fixing. Well, and the thing is that's why people listen to podcasts, for weird stories about people that they vaguely know.
Gossip. Yeah.
Right. And so I turned to Dave, and he had just gotten married too. And I said, so it must have been like 6 years ago. And I said, did you ever think you would get married? And he was like, no, there was never anyone I met who I would want to marry. You know? And so what I'm saying is that, I mean, because these are the things you like, salsa and comedy and self-help books and, you know, whatever you like, you may eventually meet somebody who you're like, oh, well, this guy, yeah.
He dances salsa.
Right, he dances salsa, but he's
and
also...
stand-up.
And stand-up.
And he quotes Louise Hay in A Course in Miracles. Oh, my God. I don't know if I met that guy, I probably wouldn't be attracted to him.
Right. He might also have horns and a tail, right? I mean, there might be something else wrong with him. But the thing is he may not even be into anything you like, but you meet him at this weird place where you're just like, oh, that's the guy I'm willing to marry. That's exactly what it felt like when after we were together for some time. I was like, oh yeah. Yeah, I could see spending 30 or 40 years with this guy, but no one else. I mean, even guys that I thought I was in love with, you know, you look back on them and you're like, oh, that guy, first of all, was not into me, and good for him, because when you look back on it, you're like, that actually would not have worked. I mean, do you feel that?
Yeah, I mean...
Can you see that?
I guess when I started dancing salsa, and this is pretty typical, that I had this horrific breakup that made me really cynical about relationships. Mm-hmm. And so I was definitely in a place in my life where I was like, oh, okay, I don't really have to get to know anybody. I can just dance with these men.
Right.
And, you know, I don't have all that messy, you know, trauma and everything that goes with a bad relationship. Because I couldn't really envision, which is normal when you have a bad relationship. I mean, some people bounce back, but I didn't for a while.
Right. And you need time anyway. you know, from what I've seen of those things where you're just like,
and I know I'm not somebody who ever wanted to, you know, sleep around or casually date.
Right.
So Salsa was like the perfect balance.
right. Because it felt vaguely wicked, but
Yes.
not because you're
felt-
touching strangers.
It felt like dating a little, and you're interacting with men. And it also taught me to kind of like realize more about my boundaries and
That's kind of neat.
Yeah, because you're in this enclosed space and there's all these bodies and guys are asking you to dance. And I just learned, I write about this in the book, I learned to say no. Like I used to feel like I had to say yes to everybody. And finally I was like, this guy's creepy. And I feel like he's like burning. He's trying to like burn his eyes into my soul when I dance with him. So I'm like, I'm not interested.
So you're better at saying,
Oh, I got really good at it. Now
just
I'm like,
shut him down.
Now I'm like, hell no.
Good. So talk to me. So the book isn't published, but the book has like how many? What are the different chapters kind of about?
So it starts in the okay. So I met this guy. I met a lot of guys that I became friends with, and just because I found them very interesting.
Through salsa?
Yeah, and I met this one guy who I call him Salsa Guru because right away he was like, I can train you, you know, and he was kind of like Mr. Miyagi, like, but then he would say things like, do you have the fire? I don't know if you have the fire. And then he and so I invited him over to my apartment, which now seems crazy. But
then you weren't killed.
I wasn't killed. But he said so many funny things to me, the way he expressed himself. Just the whole thing about the fire. And he would just say things like, Solange, you need to dance. You need to dress salsa. You don't dress salsa. And he was just trying to form me into his idea.
You were clay.
Yeah, exactly. I was his clay. And so I write about him a lot. And then there was this other guy that I became friends with, who I'm still really good friends with. And he's actually a great guy. But I called him Relentless Salsero. Oh, they're called salseros, by the way. That's what you call a guy who dances salsa.
They're called salsetos.
Salseros.
What are ladies called?
Salseras.
Oh, salsetas?
Salseras. It's an R.
It's an R.
Not a T.
All right.
So it's Salsara.
A.
Oh, wait. I don't know. Salsa. Salsa.
Salsa.
Era. E-R-A. Salsera.
Salsera.
So I call him Relentless because he was like, I really like dancing with you and I would like to have sex with you. Would you like to have sex with me? Like that blunt about it.
Wow.
And,
all right.
And I was like, no, thank you. He was like, okay, that's cool. But then he would keep asking me, but he actually is a really nice guy. Exactly. How about tonight?
It's like, that's what I do with my avails with comedy clubs. I'm like, are we booking me yet? He was like, we were considered our sexual
you know what I realized
activity?
about guys? Okay, like if I'm interested in a guy and he's not interested in me, I'm like done. But guys, like every day is a new day. They won't give up. They don't really see no as.
It's funny because Andy said that about my podcast when I asked different people to be my podcast guests, like famousy people. He's like, if they turn down 3 times, that's the rule of dating, Jackie. If she says no 3 times. Or comes up with an excuse, she doesn't want to date you. So, guess who doesn't want to be on your podcast? The guy that you've asked 3 times and has come up with various excuses.
Well, there's no rules. And I mean, you can keep asking him.
I can. And the thing is
if you
with
can
the podcast,
take the rejection.
Right. With stand-up comedy, I have no problem taking the rejection.
Right.
6 years later, every 3 months, you will still get an avails thing from me and you've never booked me. What do I care? But with the podcast, I'm like, there's so many people who want to be on it that I'm like, it's fine. That guy doesn't want to be on.
Right. And there's so many funny people who may not be famous, but
are super interesting.
Right.
And you're just like, what do you enjoy? What are you collecting? And I did ask this one guy, I said, it can be anything. Like if you collect butterflies. And he turned to me and he went with a very intense look. He said, you mean if I killed butterflies as a hobby and pinned them to things? And I was like, okay, obviously not a butterfly collector. I've never seen, I remember when I was a kid, I had a butterfly net for like a heartbeat.
Yeah, I did too.
Right.
That must have been a thing.
I think it was a thing to go off and capture some poor fucking butterfly who needs to live their lives out. And I had a pet caterpillar once because I was not allowed to have a pet. So, I had a pet caterpillar and then it turned into a moth. It was beautiful.
Oh, and then
it went away.
Okay.
Because it, we were done, essentially. The entire experience had lived itself out in a tiny box, a little matchbox that the caterpillar had,
Well, at least he didn't die.
He didn't die. He turned into a moth. And so But it was very funny because my family was like, "You thought he was going to be a butterfly. Did you? Did you think he was going to?" And I was like, "Really? There's mocking."
Like you failed.
Like
it's your fault.
Like I dropped the ball on the Caterpillar ownership. Like,
Damn.
You picked wrong.
See? Yeah.
Which, you think back at it, that's a tragic story. I mean no harm. My parents are just funny people. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So what else in the book? What else?
Okay.
Is
So I write about Salsa Guru and Relentless, and then I joined a dance team with, Joby Brava, who is this kind of salsa icon. She's a super hot salsa teacher, and she actually kind of cross-pollinated salsa across the world. Like, she traveled all over and taught it. Like, It's like really big in Thailand. And I mean, it's very global. They call it like the international language because all these cultures love salsa that they don't even know. They don't, like, a lot of Asian cultures dance salsa, but they don't know even what the words to the lyrics are.
Right.
But they can, like, my friend told me she ran into a salsa singer who's from Japan. She didn't even know she didn't speak Spanish at all, but she could sing salsa songs.
Wow. And was great, but
Yeah.
was speaking in Spanish?
Right. Was
Oh,
just
she was covering
she was
salsa
just
songs.
imitating. Yeah, she was just
Japanese are good at that, though. They can nail a karaoke like nobody's business.
Exactly.
God, okay.
So anyway, so I write about her, and then I write about dancing on two, and kind of like basically I kind of left the whole on one flashy scene, and I got really into this on two scene, which is like it's not about dressing spectacularly. It's really
Is the on one scene kind of about dressing?
It's
and bringing
about
it?
being very like flashy, and you see a lot more flips, and a lot more of showing off. They call it.
And do they mix your on ones and your on twos?
They don't.
They do not.
They like different music, and
Okay.
they don't dance with each other. It's very like
Like
you
when
do
you
your
go to the
thing,
club,
we do our thing.
If you go to the club and the beat is the same, will you see some on one dancers and some on two dancers?
Yeah, sometimes you do.
Or the club that you go to is mostly an on two club.
The on two scene usually has socials. They aren't even in clubs really. They usually
okay.
have little and it's actually on two is really big in New York.
Okay.
It's bigger in New York.
Is there a salsa club in New York that you like?
I haven't been to New York to dance, but everybody says that's the best place to dance salsa.
You gotta go.
Yeah.
Do you kind of want to go? Or?
Oh yeah, I totally do.
Yeah.
I totally do.
What destination? They have comedy clubs there too,
I know. I'll do comedy and salsa. I know. So basically I'm doing comedy, and then some nights I'll go to the open mic and I'll end it at a salsa club, and I'll dance for like
So you'll go from
an
like
hour.
8 to 11.
Yeah.
At a comedy club.
Yeah.
And then from 11 to midnight.
Yeah.
You'll go
I'll end
dance
it
for an hour.
with dancing. Because it's also like open mics are like you're sitting there waiting a lot to get up, and then
everybody's working on their new chunk.
right.
So where can people see you do stand up?
I have a show that you are on this Sunday at the Talking Stick in Venice. Oh, but we don't know when this podcast will be.
Well, it'll air probably in like a week and a half. I'm trying to catch up.
So the fourth Sunday of every month.
Yes.
I'm at the Talking Stick in Venice, 1411 Lincoln Boulevard.
With Jim Coughlin.
With Jim Coughlin.
Do you know what his dorkdom is?
Oh my God. Jim has so many.
He does.
He's really into watchmaking, among other things.
He's a bit of a trivia nerd, but Jim Coughlin, for Rangers of the Dork Forest, you might want to go back in time and re-listen to an episode. A4 paper.
What's that?
It's a size of paper that every other country in the world uses except the United States. It is, instead of 8.5 by 11, the rest of the world uses A4 paper. And Jim Coughlin approves and does not approve that the United States does not use an A4 paper.
Oh, okay. That's why when I have like the drop down of what kind of paper,
Yes.
A4 shows up. I always
A4 will
wondered
come up.
what that was.
Me too. And if you want to go back and listen to the Jim Coughlin episode, it was a pretty good one. I'd like to have him back just by himself. It was back when I was in there's the first 300 episodes of the show that are done on Blog Talk Radio, the sound quality of a Red Fox album from 1969, that you can go to those Blog Talk Radio RSS feed. And then there's 150 of these episodes that are pre-recorded through libsyn and dorkforest.com and on iTunes, of course. And then in the beginning, when I just started pre-recording, I was still trying to figure out, I love this one-on-one, the one, because you get to really get into what your dorkdom is. And though I just did do a live episode where it was a panel of dorks, over at the Nerd Melt, where it was like 4 different comics. It was Retta and Laurie Kilmartin and
awesome.
Mary Lynn Rice Cub and Rory Scovel. And so none of them really got to get into their dorkdoms, but it was a lot of riffing and super fun and some dorkiness. So it was
Yeah, I got really into my dorkdom. I can go deep
awesome.
into it though.
Yeah,
and then I get like kind of embarrassed. Like
Right. That's why the Dork Forest exists, so that you can vent. And you know, and if people want to talk to you about salsa, they should tweet at you, right? Which is at Solange CB.
Solange CB is my handle. And
Castro.
Yeah, I actually I was asked to be the girl teacher at Wolcano a couple weeks ago. And, I tweeted about that. Yeah. And I've put it out there that if anybody needs a partner to teach a class, I loved it. It was really fun.
Oh, super fun.
Yeah.
So you're willing
yeah. Cause I got to tell girls, this is what you do, the girl side.
Oh, cool.
There's 2 sides.
All right, well, let us break and see if you can teach Andy Ashcraft a little bit of salsa, and we'll take a picture or 2 and maybe have a video if I can make it work.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for being on the
Thank you
Dork
for having
Forest.
me.
Thanks for listening. Take care.
My hat, my hat, my hat. They're dancing around my hat. My hat, my hat, my hat. Well, what do you think of that? If it looks like a Mexican hat dance and it sounds like a Mexican hat dance, it's most likely a Mexican hat dance. So take off your hat and let's dance.
Yay! Oh my God. Why don't we just call that as the end of the show?